And so it seems as though Shen Wulong is going to solo the Kengan Association, which I'm sort of excited for, to be completely honest. But this chapter, at least for me, it felt a bit too short. It was like, oh great, we're finally getting to one of the more better parts with Shen and his fight against the security in the Kengan Association, and boom, the chapter is over. However, let's start from the beginning, where Lohan sort of laid the terms to the Kengan Association, and as a lot of people kind of wanted, the Kengan Association sort of disagreed. They just don't cooperate, and that is because the head of the Kengan Association currently, which is Nogi, just says, nah, we're not gonna do that, right? And Metsuro does sort of elaborate that, like, Nogi kind of has a lot of stocks in the Kengan Association in terms of not just money but history in here as well, so he'll probably treat the Kengan Association with a lot more dignity rather than someone who will buckle under the pressure. At least he's at least not likely to throw the Kengan Association under the bus like that. And so we have a situation where Nogi just says no, and the look on Lohan's face is quite funny, right? He's like, I really did not expect them to say no. And he's sort of a bit confused, because I guess Lohan is probably the same as Wulong, to where they're just so powerful that most people just can't perceive how powerful they are. Right, like, I think there was more evidence in here that Lohan is a fighter. For those, if there was anyone in doubt that Lohan was probably as strong as Shen is, there is a bit more evidence when it comes to this in this chapter. However, when Lohan asks Yan, like, okay, it seems as though they're not cooperating. I didn't expect this one, Yan. Can you do something? And Yamashita is asking a pretty good question, at least in his head. Why does it seem like Oma and Ryuki are so important to the worm? And I think I might have to do a video on this one, but maybe, just maybe, it isn't something that is as simple as reincarnation. Although I did hear about the yin and yang theory, although it's not my theory personally, I might do a video on that as well, because I think it's a fairly good theory and it's turning out to be true nevertheless. So I think it's best if the theory is just out there, honestly. But they are fairly important when it comes to the entire deal. However, I did predict that even if some of these people like Nogi, like Metsuro, like Yamashita don't want it to happen, the worm are gonna twist the Kengan Association's arm, and most of the Kengan Association members are going to buckle under the pressure, and they're probably gonna go against Nogi. So that's what I predict to happen in the next few chapters, where most of the Kengan Association members realize how powerful the worm are and just don't want to essentially die. They're not willing to do that for just giving them membership and just giving away 2 people. They will gladly do that to save their own lives. So that's how I predict this will go on. But Yan comes in after Lohan's like, Yan, do something, negotiate. You're the head of the worm, you do this. And Yan comes in, he's like, look, we want world harmony, but if harmony doesn't happen. And they pull the curtain, and the security seems to be down, at least most of it. We see most of the security cameras knocked out. And in Yamashita's eye, when he's looking there, he sees a silhouette of Wulong essentially looking the other way. And so maybe the battle is still currently going on by the time Yan actually pulls back the curtain. Because remember, there are a few top tiers in the security, and it seems as though Wulong is just taking out the security very quickly, and he's pretty good at this when it comes to his stride and closing the gap, or just walking really, really fast. In fact, the narrator, I think, just outright states, let me just check here, that Wulong is just so much more better at basically striding, that, like, even though Lohan can do it and he was pretty good, Lohan doesn't even come close. So it means, like, yeah, at least in this category, Wulong just is way better than Lohan in this category, which is pretty interesting. So when it comes to closing gaps in fights, it seems like Wulong is very dangerous when it comes to this. However, most of the top tiers are noticing what Shen is doing, or at least notice his presence. Specifically Terashi, Mutemba, maybe he's aware of something going on, although I don't think he sensed anything. Terashi was actually one of the first people who was able to sense Lohan and is able to sense Shen, even though he didn't see them. This is very impressive, actually, when you think about it, because for Terashi to perceive danger, I'm going to repeat myself, he has to at least have better senses than Mukaku, because Mukaku said he couldn't sense it because he was too weak. Wulong was just so far above him that he couldn't perceive the danger he was in. And so Terashi being able to somewhat perceive Shen, pretty good, right? Very, very good, right? Or at least being able to sense him as well. Although he probably doesn't know the difference between Lohan and Wulong, to be honest. But Terashi's there. He's the first one to confront him, but other people that are probably going to confront him are, of course, I've mentioned Mutemba. Then there's Misasa as well. And Takayama is also there. So we might have a fight in our hands that involves all of them in the later chapters. Now, I think Shen will obviously win, but I think it's important we put this into context. The reason why this is so easy for Wulong is because the security is not coordinated. I think that's the biggest reason. Even though Wulong is impressive and all that stuff, I don't think what he's doing now would be as feasible if the security was top-notch, was coordinated properly. I think the jeopardizing or the unorganization of the security has given Wulong the opportunity, and Lohan, the opportunity to straight up win their confrontation a lot easier, which is why I'm guessing there were members within the Kengan Association. Because notice how Lohan is framing his deal. He wants dead dealers to become a part of the Kengan Association, not necessarily the worm. Now granted, you could say death dealers and the worm are the same thing. I don't necessarily think so, but to me this does sort of act as some form of evidence that the worm are a part of the Kengan Association in some form, and they've played a part in jeopardizing the security. That, or the Kengan Association is just so dysfunctional and so bad at working together that it has basically created a weakness within the Kengan Association. You know, how the worm got too big, maybe the Kengan Association has got too big where they can't coordinate anything properly anymore. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see. But we're gonna see how the next few chapters go on. I'm pretty excited for it, honestly. And yeah, that's it. Like, sub, all that fun stuff. And until next time, take it easy.